Welcome back to the Big Fat Gay Podcast, where we love to talk about the things that are weighing on our minds. My name's Don Marshall. I'm a big chubby guy living here in sunny Hollywood. And today I am a Christmased up Christmas boy with my Christmas tree up and shining in the other room. I have my cup of hot cocoa sitting next to me and a balsam fir candle burning not too far away.
Ooh.
It's Christmas. It's official. Welcome.
My name is Dan Oliverio, author, public speaker, and chubby chaser. And today I am a rather frazzled pre-travel boy. We have much to do today, and I am leaving on a pre-dawn flight tomorrow morning. My flight leaves a half an hour before sunrise.
Ooh, it'll be a nice view on the plane.
Well, you'll get a great view on the way out. Yeah.
So hopefully I can get some rest on the plane.
Yeah. No, thank you.
I'm Trevor Keyson. I'm a super chub, and I'm a Christmassy, not travel boy. I have a lot of Christmas things to do, so I am not traveling with Dan, and I don't have to be up at dawn, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, so would I. Hi, my name is Michael Willer. I am a chubby chaser, and I'm a tardy holiday boy today. We should have set up our Christmas tree by now, and it hasn't happened yet, mostly due to laziness and forgetfulness. So
laziness and forgetfulness, two great tastes that go great together.
That's why I changed my ADHD medication.
I was planning on holding Dan's ID hostage if the tree did not get up before he left. So we're very lucky in that sense.
Well, we want to say thank you to our Patreons for keeping us going. Thank you very much for helping us keep the lights on and keeping our editor employed and talking to us.
Wait, you guys have lights?
Well, he means the candles. You mean the candles, right, Don? Just say candles.
Candles are expensive,
That's
Michael.
Right. The tallow.
That's true.
We want to say thank you to Big Fig and Bearskin, our amazing partners that help us keep going. And let's not forget our amazing promo code, Big Fat Gay Pod, for 15% off on Bearskin products.
Yay.
And just a reminder to our listeners, next week we are going to be discussing the film Dear Santa, which is on Paramount Plus, and it is Jack Black plays a devilish character who receives a letter from a child with one crucial spelling error. So
a letter to Santa.
Yes.
I can't wait for this. It promises hijinks. It promises Jack Black. Those are both high up on my list of entertaining holiday film topics. So we'll be talking about that next week. Watch it if you want to join in, or you can just listen, and we'll promise to entertain you either way.
And spoil everything.
Yes.
yes.
All right. Let's dive in. This really has to be the easiest piano part ever written.
Well, I thought this was just endearing, this piece. It's a documentary, am I right?
Yes.
Yes.
Called Adrianne and the Castle.
And we have a trailer for it. It's not currently out yet, but you can check it out. It is, to read the quick summary, inventive and whimsical Adrianne and the Castle is a true story of great love and loss. Alan St. George, which is a fantastic name. Mm-hmm. Can we start with that?
It might even be real.
He's a mascot maker and artist in rural Illinois who handmade an ornate and elaborate castle, literally a castle, with his late wife, Adrianne. Since her death in 2006, he continues to put the finishing touches on Haven Crest Castle, which stands as a temple dedicated to their transcendent love. And that's sort of the setup. And that's what I was expecting, because I had heard about this and then I watched the trailer and I was like, oh yeah. And the art in the castle is spectacular. It's just, it's so, you really have to see it to believe it. But then the trailer twists halfway through, and that I was not expecting.
Yes.
Like, Trevor, can you explain a little bit more about this? Because I was confused, but also intrigued.
So I discovered this just from Instagram, from a clip of talking to Alan St. George, and showing like it was footage from the house, but also there is this kind of like musical aspect to the documentary where there are these musical reenactments with actors portraying a younger version of Alan and Adrianne.
Oh, we should mention, by the way, Adrianne was fat. So this is a chub chaser couple.
Yeah. And it is just so, I don't know, like, I say this in the best possible way because it is what I aspire to. Miss Piggy and Kermit vibes, because she
really is.
Adrianne is, there's all this artwork of her as this like Madonna almost figure.
Zoftic goddess.
Yeah. Zoftic goddess. And then like Ellen just looking
Adoringly.
at her.
She consistently reminded me of Dawn French in the
Harry Potter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
As the fat lady in the
That's
painting.
good.
Yeah, very much so.
When I first saw this, I sent it to Michael with like big chaser energy, just because it is this devotion that I feel like you see so often in the community of like, I want everything for this person.
Yeah.
Part of the turning of this house into this castle was they bought it and Adrian's like, I hate this house. Like, we need to do something.
Mm-hmm. The compromise was we can get this house, but I get to decorate it however I want.
Yes.
And then it turned into this process for the two of them creating art and transforming the entire rooms at a time and then the entire house into a castle.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
Clearly also about sort of the enduring nature of their love, because she died in 2006 and this is a 2024 movie. I mean, this is now. So he's continued to try and basically complete their project. Although I don't know if complete is the right word.
Well, no, it's an homage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's something sort of Winchester Mystery Mansion about it, isn't there?
Yeah, it's like whimsical Winchester.
Yeah.
He'll never be done with that, I don't think. Like, there's always going to be something more to be done.
Just constantly changing.
Yeah.
I haven't gone to the Winchester Mystery Mansion. I now want to go to this castle as well.
I think it is probably Hearst Mansion meets the Winchester Mystery House.
Probably.
Yes. That's, because of the like opulence and extravagance of it. Yeah.
I also just love that because there were a lot of like comments of people discussing in the Instagram post I saw of like, how does he finance this? And it's because he owns like the biggest mascot company in the country where it's like every sports team gets their mascot costumes made from them, which is just like another
That seems appropriate.
How friggin' perfect.
Another Muppet connection.
Yeah.
It's like there's a picture from, I don't know if this is from the documentary or just something promotional where it's, I think Alan in this like Napoleon soldier costume and he has a frog head on.
Yeah, it's in the trailer.
Yeah.
Which also explains why the costumes in all their productions look amazing.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're very excited to see this come out.
It's going to be the Canadian Broadcast Company, so I don't know when it's going to be available to watch in the States. And also it's like kind of indie documentary, so I know that always complicates release because of streaming rights stuff.
They don't have the release date in the trailer, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But it'll be released a half hour later in Newfoundland.
Yes.
But that said, our next story proves that we do have an excellent track record in predicting movie awards and picking out the good movies for you.
That's right.
You might remember that we talked about the movie Big Boys a little while ago. You might even remember that we interviewed somebody that was involved with the making of it.
Yeah, Corey Sherman, the director of the movie, writer-director of the movie. Writer-director-producer of the movie.
He had help.
Big Boys has been nominated for the John Cassavetes Award at the Independent Spirit Awards. The Film Independent Spirit Awards, which is a reputable film festival, and given to the best feature film made for under $1 million, which sounds like a lot of money to anybody who sort of hasn't been involved in making a movie before, but trust me, it's not.
And that's not it. It was also nominated for Best Breakthrough Performance for Isaac Krasner.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is, both of them are very exciting, but I feel like specifically highlighting the fat lead actor as a breakthrough, like that is something special, because it's not sort of this like not subcategory, but like under $1 million, like it was a very, very indie movie that's sort of, it's not one of the main best film, but best breakthrough performance, I think for Isaac is just so exciting. Yeah. And I can't wait to see him win it.
I think especially just because Isaac, there were so many little things and choices and just wonderful, like to seeing myself in his performance of just like there's so many of like the little fidgety kind of like teen, like, oh, this, I'm in a very weird stage. I'm figuring myself out. I'm a little uncomfortable.
Yeah. Squirming in one's own skin.
Yeah. That were just so good. And just like, I'm getting to hear about from Corey in the episode. If you haven't listened to it, please go and listen to that episode talking about just how much of that really was Isaac. So for him to get that recognition, I hope he gets it. I hope they get the John Cassavetes Award, because the film is truly a labor of love, and everyone involved because we also got to hear the producer, Allison Tate, when Dan and I saw it at USC.
When we saw the screening. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So much love went into that movie.
Yeah, it really did. And people, I mean, when there's not that much money, the only reason to do it is because you left the material.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And you believe it. And
yeah.
We should hear the winners. I believe the actual event is on February 22nd, 2025.
Okay.
So we should know more then. We'll follow back up at that point, hopefully with lots of very good news. But this in and of itself is good news. And we're very excited. And congratulations on the nominations.
Yes.
Everybody involved.
And if you haven't seen Big Boys, go find it. Go watch it.
If you haven't seen Big Boys, what are you doing with your life? I'm sorry, but come on.
You can buy Big Boys on DVD, actually.
Oh, wonderful.
Oh,
it's probably streaming
I will
somewhere
be doing
too.
that. Maybe
right?
Gift idea. That feels like a good gift idea.
There you go. I like that.
Well, you know who else has good gift suggestions?
Who?
The Eagle. That bottle 2024.
Oh my God, it's dropping all of Christmas on us.
Christmas everywhere.
So Teen Vogue coming through again.
Yes.
With this, they have this feature. It's an interview with Caleb Heron, a comedian and new star of Sweethearts. Caleb Heron, I feel like a lot of listeners may know who he is just because he is this up and coming fat gay comedian who is very funny, just really, I don't know, natural stage presence. And just, he is like one of the funniest kids you knew in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's kind of, not to compare people, but I'm about to do that. It's sort of a mashup between Guy Branum and Harvey Guillen.
Yes. I think that's a good comparison.
Yeah, I see that.
And if you don't know, if you're trying to who is he in Sweethearts? He's Palmer in Sweethearts.
Yes. So it's this interview with him kind of talking about just him and kind of growing up in Missouri and the small town and then going into this role in Sweethearts. And it's so good. I feel like whenever I kind of see him pop up on social media or other places, it's always kind of in performer mode.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So I love kind of getting to see what goes into that.
Yeah. I really liked this because Claire Dodson, who did the interview and wrote the article, she has, it's not just a transcription of their conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Like she goes through their questions and answers, but then also kind of describes the scene and uses examples of their interactions to kind of support some of the things she's saying. So one of the kind of parallels she draws is he's sort of the best possible version of the living embodiment of the gay best friend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like if you took away all the stigma of that trope and just had it be what it should authentically be, that he is kind of everything you would want in that person. And sort of talks about how they were having lunch. And so when he ordered, the waiter was flirting with him and was like, oh, I want to pull up a chair. That sounds so good. And kind of gives you these little snippets of what it's like to sit down and talk with him, which I really enjoyed because he clearly is just an interesting and kind, humble person.
I found that the part of the interview that really intrigued me was how talking about being raised in a small town and having grown up being moved from small town to small town in Missouri, apparently. Mm-hmm. She quotes, so you can find, if someone can find it for me, there's this quote of an internet commenter who says you make bumfuck Missouri sound like the epic center of the universe. And it's you want to be there. It's all going on here. Why aren't you here? And it comes from having left the small town and come back to the small town.
Mm-hmm.
And that you're not the same person when you come back. So you don't have the same life and you don't feel the same sort of constrictions.
Yeah, that's what I found relatable was he sort of describes the 3-part journey of, having that kind of small town experience of, oh, I don't fit in here. I'm very different from everyone. There must be something wrong with me. Mm-hmm. And then kind of evolving from that, moving away and going, wait, no, there's something wrong with me. There's something wrong with them. And kind of grappling with that kind of elitism.
Superiority.
Yeah. And he specifically says you have to pass through the valley of the shadow of elitism and hopefully come out on the other side a normal person who's nice, which is where it sounds like he eventually landed because he now has a huge affection for where he came from, for the city he lives. And I think that's bold in a time when it's pretty easy to escape. Well, not easy, but many people escape to the coasts and kind of say, fuck where I came from.
Well, it's certainly easy to dump on where you come from.
Yeah.
Well, and it's also kind of funny to me because this is the typical journey offered by the gay best friend in most of these movies. Welcome back to your hometown. I never left and love it here. Allow me to show you how to find your way through.
Right.
Before I saw this interview, I had seen some clips from Sweethearts that I think maybe Caleb posted. And there's a scene that he talks about in the interview of where it's Palmer getting ready to go to a party and he's like trying on different outfits.
Mhm.
There's a point where he says, he's like, we're fat. We don't like minimalism is a privilege for thin people.
Yeah.
we don't get that. And it's so true.
Yeah. I never thought of it in quite those terms, but that's pretty accurate, actually.
But I love that he specifically talks about being fat and feeling hot and confident. And also the author of the article and the interviewer editorializes these statements about him as well. Like she specifically writes, as a fat person, it does still feel good to see Palmer, his character, out there being hot and confident and fat and attracting other hot, confident people. As a viewer of the show, like that is really, really fun. And I actually really want to see it now. I haven't, or is it a movie or a show?
It's a movie on Max.
As a viewer of the show, like that's really appealing. And I actually really want to see it now. This is worth re-upping the subscription to check out. I'm very excited to see it and support him in the process.
Yes.
I'd also like to just point out that Teen Vogue is one that we have mentioned on the show multiple times over the years.
Yeah.
They have consistently done some very good reporting for what I would consider an underserved demographic. If we're talking good Christmas presents for younger people in your life, let's put Teen Vogue on that list. If they have interest in the world around them, that might be a good gift too.
Oh, like a subscription?
Yeah, subscription. And you'd be supporting a really good publication that's doing good work right now and supporting our community.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea.
So our main topic today.
Yes.
Don, set this up.
Don,
Go on.
Yes, Don, set this up.
I'm already feeling wildly uncomfortable talking about this. Oh dear. I am the prude, aren't I? Okay. So today's topic is Threeways.
How many ways, Don? How many ways?
So loud, Dan. Why are you so loud?
Threeways, Three Ways. I feel like that's a good title for this episode.
Yeah.
Or a cookbook.
Okay. So yeah, we're talking about three-way relationships this time around.
Well, are
Three-way
we or three-way
dating.
sex?
Dan.
Well,
Oh my God, I said the word.
Shocked.
This is 200 something episode, Don. You don't get to be shy about this anymore.
Well, because
we talked about fold fucking like 10 episodes in. Okay.
Well, because I think there's a big difference between having a three-way, having sex with maybe a couple, and a polyamorous relationship.
Yeah.
Those are very different things.
So we have briefly touched on the idea of going on a date with somebody who's in an open relationship or being in an open relationship and going out on a date. But recently I had the experience, and let me make it very clear. The couple that I went out on this date with did nothing wrong. They were perfect perfect gentlemen.
Wow.
They did everything I have ever asked for on this podcast to a T. They were ideal.
But what about out of bed, Don?
I'm talking. But I will say, I'll just start this off by I made a date to go out with this gentleman that I knew was in an open relationship. I went to the coffee shop, and because I didn't do my homework correctly and I didn't ask the right questions, I didn't realize I was going out on a date with the couple. Not the gentleman I was talking with.
So this was a surprise.
Well, it shouldn't have been if I was a little smarter and understood some of the terms that he was using, and I wasn't prepped. Don didn't know the questions to ask.
You were dickmatized, weren't you?
A little bit. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't ask too many questions because he seemed really nice, right? I just liked talking with him. Dad,
I'm not letting you off the hook on this, Don.
He had a huge personality.
He had a huge personality that really came at me.
Strong, hard personality. No, and so again, reiterating, he said nothing wrong. The couple said nothing wrong. I just didn't pick up on what was being said. And I showed up, and so I'm on a date with a chaser and his husband.
Who is a
chubby guy, a bigger chubby guy. He's actually very similar. He's similar in age and experience to me, and he's a little bit bigger than me.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And so, I'm fine because this wasn't a hookup date. We were in a coffee shop. I'm sitting down, we're talking, right? And what ends up happening is I end up hitting it off with both of them very nicely. Like,
Cool.
the husband is super sweet. He's sort of he comes across as a bit of a grump, but he loves like the same video games I do.
Mhm.
And like, we're chatting and all that stuff. And the next thing I realized, like, I'm on a legit date with two people, which I've never done before, right? Like,
Oh.
and I'm still in a situation where like, I don't know how to talk about this. And I've been open with them that I don't know what I'm doing and I'm still figuring this out. As far as just, that's the best I can do is offer the honesty of where I am at right now.
So question for you. When you say you're on a legit date with a couple, is this they're looking for a poly relationship with you, or this is a open relationship that they want to have a three-way hookup with you, but also like friends or whatever else?
My understanding is open relationship with friendship hookup, FWB, friends with benefits relationship
Got it.
with the couple themselves.
Yeah, okay. So it's an audition, not an interview.
Whatever that means.
But the vibe is, and this is partially because I think it's because what I was putting out was I was sort of confused by it and a little intimidated. But when I'm confused and intimidated, I'm not putting out like sexy time vibes. So like I've developed sort of a friendship with them where like we're getting together every once in a while and playing video games, hanging out and chatting, and that's it so far, right?
Okay.
Because I don't think I'm a prude. I think I'm just timid.
So I'm curious because you mentioned missing signs. In retrospect, you're like, oh, I see the things I missed.
Yeah.
But what did you miss? Was it like, was he saying we? Was it like something in the profile? What were
the missed signs?
Yeah.
The missed signs were what I thought was communication saying that was supposed to make it very clear that he was in an open but faithful relationship, right? He wasn't looking to go leave his partner and find someone new, right? I misinterpreted. I believe he was communicating, my partner and I are going to come and meet you. And I thought he was communicating, I have a partner, right? And just letting me know that his relationship existed. I didn't know that I was going on a date with a relationship.
Huh.
It's the only way I can describe it.
Okay.
If I handed you the text string, you would probably read it and go like, oh, Dawn, you're just dumb.
No, I've said it before, dickmatized. I think for me, I've usually been on the other side of that because, Trevor and I are married. I will occasionally get questions from guys of like, well, is your partner going to be there? And I'm like, oh, no, it's just me. And because they have been in the similar place that you were, Don, I think of like, you just said partner. Does that mean I'm going on a date with both of you?
Yeah.
What does that mean? Yeah. So it does happen on the other way too.
Well, and I've been down that route so many times. Like I live in Los Angeles. I'm a gentleman of a certain age. A lot of the guys I go on dates with are in open relationships now.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just sort of normal. You have to know your own thinking about this before you do it. Right. So my expectation was that, oh, you have a partner. Great. Thank you. I know that. I understand that now. I have a context for our meeting and what our relationship will be. And now I'll go meet you. Oh, it's both of you. That was
Shazam.
Yeah.
2 for the price of 1.
And so what's ended up happening was, and I'm still a little, cause like I've seen both of their profiles on Bigger City. Right. And the profile of the bigger guy actually is similar to mine, where he's looking for average to, muscular to thin chaser types. Right.
Huh.
So I'm not on his list.
Right.
So I don't.
Yeah.
It's still a little confusing to me, but the fact is, like, as our social relationship has gone on, and he also identifies himself as I do, as kind of being strongly demisexual, right? Where like the personality is a strong component to attraction. I think maybe we're both a little surprised by like this. Like, I don't think either of us were necessarily expecting this. I have no idea what's going through his head yet, and I'm still too awkward to ask.
Yeah.
I mean, is it not something you could talk about? Is this not something that could come up? Or
yes, but I don't want to just drag the conversation there. I'm trying to try and make it happen organically so I can figure out what's happening.
Look, Don. It is never going to happen organically if you're trying to storm Baldur's Gate. That's not that is not how it's going to be. Like,
Baldur is a lovely man, but I'm not sure if I want to go through that gate.
But you see what I'm saying? It's like, this is not going to come up in the context of board games or D&D. Like, it will never never happen. That will never be a part of the conversation that you can slide into.
Roll for persuasion.
Yeah.
I have a certain degree of timidity about it right now too, because I'm enjoying the platonic aspects of this.
I think that's exactly what it is. Yeah.
And I don't want to wreck the platonic thing that I'm finding.
Exactly what I'm sensing. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
And I guess I just don't want to rush anything either, because I don't have a sense of, I don't have enough sense yet. Let's just leave it at that. I am not well sensed.
It sounds like you just need some really strong drinks. That's
it's not always a positive solution.
Well, maybe
Michael.
there's a place in the game where you can take everybody out for mead or something. I don't know.
Well, but the point is, today's topic is going to be going on a date with the couple, right? Not open relationships, dating two people who are already together, right?
Yeah.
What do you do? Is there an etiquette? Is there a best practices method here? I don't know. This is a new world for me.
So I have an experience that I think is pretty related to this. It has to do a lot with consent in this kind of situation, and a lot to do with terrible communication as well. Yes. My tale is sort of a tale of warning.
Oh,
for
a cautionary tale.
Yeah, that's the word, cautionary tale.
Sort of an Aesop or Michael Phelan.
Yeah, one of many.
Yeah, just tell it with animals.
Yes. So I met a giraffe. No. So I met let's see, I'm going to try not to, embarrass the parties involved, even though, well, whatever. For whatever reason, Michael and I were looking to make some local friends. And when I say friends, I actually mean just platonic friends. Like, we just want people to hang out with. So we met a chub. And then, as it turns out, this chub was in a throuple, like a committed, as he put it, monogamous throuple relationship. They only have sex with each other. And so they were also looking for some local friends. And so Michael and I both went over, we hung out for like an entire day. It was fantastic. We had these great conversations and we were like, wow, that could not have gone better. And part of that was like a good hour-long discussion of them saying like, yeah, we're also really just looking for like normal local friends. Like, we have too many kind of gay sexual boundaries being blurred for types of friends. Like, you might meet at like, a bathhouse or an event, or like we have all of those like friends with benefits relationships already. And we're really just looking for like normal, regular, platonic, like barbecue in the backyard kind of things.
I just love that what you're really saying is like, we're really searching for friends we don't have sex with.
Yeah, that's what was described. Yeah. And frankly, that was a fucking breath of fresh air. Like, that was nice.
It is unusual in many parts of the gay community, yes.
Yeah. Well, as it turns out, it was unusual here too. So as this develops, we go over to their place. They have a pool many times over the course of a few months. And every single time after the first, they would offer to us, hey, by the way, like, no pressure at all, but it's our pool. It's a totally enclosed backyard. We like to swim naked. Just so you know, like, is that okay? And we're like, oh yeah, sure. Like, do your thing. Doesn't bother us. They're chub chase relationships. So they do. But then they keep saying, oh, you guys can do that too if you want. And it would keep coming up over and over and over again.
It's a trap.
But the thing is, so yes, the alarm bell of being repeatedly asked to do that in a single stay. Like, not just over the course of many visits, but like 3 or 4 or 5 times over the course of a night. It's definitely setting off like my sensors. I'm like, red flag. Like, what is this? Why do they keep pushing this?
And to be clear, they're offering the freedom for you and your partner to make out on your own too.
Well, that came up later, but yes.
Just be naked.
Initially, it was just be naked.
Oh, okay.
And then eventually it was like, oh, wait. Now we're all in the pool together. Nothing's happening for us. But then I'm noticing that 2 of the people in the pool they're definitely, if they're not having sex actively, it is like something's happening under the water. But we're all having a conversation. It's like we're all just talking and something's kind of happening that's not being talked about. No consent was asked for. It's just sort of going on. And you're kind of standing there like, I don't know, like, do we address this? Do I bring this up? Do I excuse myself? Like, how do we navigate this? But it never came up. It was never addressed. It was just, and then eventually I would ask, like, after the visit, like, hey, like, was something happening? And there was like, oh yeah, is that a problem? And then at one point I said, it feels like there was this kind of sexual overtone to the evening. Like, I don't know, like, it felt like there was something being put our direction, like that you were sort of waiting for us to join or whatever. And he said, no, not at all. Was that something that you wanted? Was that something that you were putting out? Because that's not something I picked up on at all. Total fucking gaslighting, as it turns out later. To cut a long story short, this keeps happening. Michael and I are getting more and more frustrated by basically not knowing what the fuck is happening because it can't be talked about directly. Eventually, I just say, look, tell me straight. What is this? What are the rules? What do you want and what don't you want? And then we can decide whether or not we want to engage with any of it.
I don't know, Michael. What do you want?
And I got exactly. So like eventually, as it turns out, they are not looking to have sex with us, but they want to have sex with each other in front of us.
Yeah.
And then also want us to have sex with each other, like me and Michael, in the pool with them, kind of just like communally getting off together.
It seems a waste to not have a camera and not be able to monetize this, though.
I'm not entirely convinced there wasn't a camera, frankly, but that's a whole other discussion.
Yeah.
The point is, I was told a blatant lie the first time we hung out. And then every sign and indication I got after that point went against that. Like I had all the evidence to say, no, actually, that wasn't true. But I spent all of this time being frustrated and confused because I believed them at the start.
It does, however, solve entirely the mystery of why they don't have any friends they don't have sex with.
There may be a pattern here. Is all we're saying.
As it turns out, that wasn't true. Dan, you are right. That is exceedingly rare. And don't expect that, I guess.
No, it's not that. It's just that, look, if you don't want there to be sex, you just got to play some D&D. That's what it is.
I'm fine with that.
I would just like to point out that is absolutely not fucking true.
I guess the lesson learned here is that you can't control what other people tell you.
Yeah.
But you do have your own instincts. And I feel like on some level, it's the same kind of thing that they talk about when like somebody's, alone on the street on a dark night and somebody comes up to them with a van and it's like, hey, I need help moving. And you're just like, you have a sixth sense about this, but say no.
But
leave.
Michael, he has a cast on his arm.
Right. Like he needs, and so like you in the back of your head, something is wrong, but because of social niceties, you go along with the situation anyway, and you can get in trouble.
Yeah. And I think people try to be nice. And look, as a great American playwright once said, action talks, bullshit walks. And you really got to go by what people do.
Yeah.
You really go by the evidence you have. And, a really good example of that is when people say, no, I've changed. Okay, where is the physical evidence of the change? Like saying you've changed is not very plausible or convincing.
Sure.
Or I'll be different this time. Not very plausible, convincing.
Mm-hmm.
But like, can you point to something that is different?
Yeah.
My three-way experiences, I've had horrible three-way experiences.
Oh, no.
I think this scarred me for life. I am famously not fond of the me and two chubs scenario. I know every chaser's dream is to be with multiple chubs at a time, it seems. I am absolutely not in pursuit of this experience. And this may be why. I found myself in bed, my dick fell into his ass.
As happens.
No, I found myself in bed with two chubs who were both very handsome and I was both very into. And they were best friends.
Oh,
Not anymore.
Their friendship did survive, but it was a thing.
Really?
And it was horrible for me. It was horrible for me because it was basically a management problem.
Right.
And I think I've carried that into my other incarnations. On the other hand, my best three-way experiences have always been not with two chubs, but with me and another chaser. And we have this common bond of this chub that we're pleasing. That works really well for me.
Got it.
And it's often why, like, I've never had sex with a couple who were like a partnership. And I am not eager to have, like, for me and Trevor to bring in a third. My thing with like me and Trevor is like, I don't need to have sex with half my husband.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just me. I think because I'm kind of a one-on-one guy.
Yeah.
And I see the second chaser as sort of supplementary as somebody, as opposed to someone that like I need to pay serious attention to.
someone to help you with the heavy lifting, so to speak.
Or literally.
That is often literal.
one real three-way that I've had in the past was with two chasers who were friends with each other. So I have the experience you're describing with other chasers of like the two of them had a strong friendship before our hookup and after. And I think their sharing that sexual experience was probably a bonding experience for the two of them too.
And you had a good time, yes?
I had a really lovely time.
Yeah,
exactly. I still value to this day, you know? So
is it fair that the difference we're identifying is where the attention is focused from 2 to 1, where if the two who are focused on the one both want from that one,
if they're competing,
then that becomes this weird imbalance where the one person, in this case Dan, has to try and give equal attention always and make sure nobody feels left out. It's a management problem. Versus if the two focused on the one are both super into the one, then it's just everybody's on the same page. The one gets everything and the two get to participate together.
As long as there's not a jealousy thing going on between those two, I think you're good.
Yeah. Well, look, it is statistically rare that it is 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. It is, two of the people are always kind of more into something, which is fine. Like in the case of two chasers and a chub, I expect the other chaser to be more into the chub than he is into me.
That's part of the agreement.
That's kind of what you signed up for.
Yeah.
It is sometimes, I've found it sometimes, I don't know, disconcerting is a little too strong, but like if the chaser starts paying more attention to me than the chub, like, I need to rebalance these wheels.
Red light.
No, it's not panic, but it's like, okay, let's go back to what we're here for. Can we, shall we?
The wind-up toy starts walking your direction. You just turn them right back around.
Exactly. Very apt metaphor.
I mean, my experience is fairly limited because I just have one experience from college that was just a weird thing where I was friends with a chaser who was in a monogamous relationship with a chub. And then he was like trying to cheat on the boyfriend with me. But then we ended up having a three-way that the chub started.
Oh my God.
I don't really know how it was like an accidental thing that was like, this is weird, but I'm going to roll with it. Cause like it was one of those things where like, it was college and like we were all college age and like we were watching TV in the boyfriend's bed, the chub boyfriend's bed, because like that was just like their apartment setup.
Welcome to college.
I mean, it's not cheating if you're in the man's bed while he's there.
Yeah.
Well, initially I think it was the chub was asleep and the chaser was trying to start something with me, and then like the chub woke up and was like directing the show. It was weird. There was a lot going on. And
it sounds like a mini series to me.
And it was just awkward. And also like, I literally like couldn't get out of the bed without being like, okay, well, we're going to stop this and I'm going to leave. So I just kind of went with it.
Well, to be fair though, if you leave, it does stop. And if you stop, you do leave. So, I mean,
I don't know. It was fine. And it ended up being fun. And I never saw them again after that.
That seems about right.
Well, the question is, did they see each other again after that?
Yeah.
But so there was that. And then there was the time a couple of years ago where someone was trying to organize a three-way with Dan and I, but he had a stipulation that before we had a three-way, he wanted to have a sleepover. Which I was like, oh, okay. And I assumed like, oh, and then that'll be it. But he's like, no, like I want to sleep in bed with both of you.
To be clear, I think the idea was we're going to have a three-way, but it'll actually be the three of us going to bed together, and we will spend the night and wake up with each other, and there will be sex somewhere in this. Is that accurate, Trevor? That's how I remember it.
I think it was just enough. I mean, we were just kind of trying to wrap our heads around it, and then it ended up not happening, I think, because it was like, seems like a lot of logistics, and also like,
what do you want?
We have a big bed, but also like it's like, that doesn't really sound like it would be comfortable if
that's a great way for nobody to sleep.
We're just especially going to be like doing like a big cuddle pile.
Yeah, but a chaser fantasy at that level is much more about, the fantasy.
Yeah.
It would be great to spend the night and not sleep with you. What?
Yeah. No thanks. That feels like the worst of both worlds.
Which is, I think, why we did not act on this.
Yeah.
That is not a rare kink. I'll be honest. I've talked with more than a few guys that are like, yeah, I want to lay on top of you all night long. I'm like, no. No.
Yeah. It has the thing about like, it has connections with, okay, cuddling feels good. And, I just want to lay next to you. It doesn't have to be, and again, most, people define sex as penetration. So if we're not having penetration, I guess we're not having sex. And so we're just cuddling and it'll last hours and we'll drift off to sleep and the Sandman will come and bless us and laugh.
Now, in everyone's experience, how many times out of 10 does just cuddling ever mean just cuddling?
Well, I mean,
It happens.
it depends. Like I'm side, like I have no interest in penetration. So 100%.
No. I mean, like if anything that you would define as sex, I'm not talking about penetration.
Okay.
Anything that you would define as sex is sex, and anything that is just cuddling is just cuddling. Is just cuddling. How many times does it actually happen?
I will say it's happened. Like I've had a few guys where like, and it wasn't just like they showed up and I wasn't sexy enough. They wanted to come back and do it again, So I'm like, no.
No, but did they tell you I just want to cuddle, and then they showed up and you literally just cuddled and then they went home?
I have had
I get what you're saying, Michael. In my experience, no. Only because no one promises that, because it doesn't happen that way, or it does happen that way and it doesn't need to be promised.
I will say I've had that, and I've also had it where they did not mean just cuddling, but I'm like, nope, you said just cuddling.
Yeah.
So
That's what I'm saying. That's my point.
the terms and conditions say
That's exactly my point.
We're just saying both shapes happen, Michael. It does happen, but it's not common, but it's not super uncommon either.
My point is that every time anyone has ever said that to
just
me,
cuddling, yeah.
it has set off a warning bell in my head.
I agree.
I have agreed, and then it has not been the case. It has been a blatant lie.
But that said, I have a body that a lot of people who like my body want to cuddle my body.
No, I understand that, Don,
but have a different experience.
But that's not that's not his point. He's saying that anyone who begins with "I just want to cuddle" doesn't mean that.
No, I hear it.
That's all he's saying.
Yeah.
That's sort of the announcement of it sort of raises the red flag of it ain't going to happen that way.
My point is, when you say I only want to cuddle, I don't believe you. You want more than that too.
That it's a ploy. It's almost always a ploy.
Yeah.
one that's saying that, like, it's like saying like, I'm not going to get dessert.
I just want one bite of yours.
To be fair, when someone does that, it can be with the best of intentions that they do just want to cuddle. But like Trevor says, I'm not going to get dessert as an intention, not a reality.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and when you are like saying to somebody sitting across the table from you, not touching you, I just want to cuddle, and then being physically close to them, touching them all over because you're cuddling. Those are different scenarios that will elicit different reactions. One usually leads to the other. Like it.
Yeah. Well, and it gets to the question, why are you setting this parameter to begin with? Why is this an operating parameter of the evening? Why is it needed?
Yeah.
Is it because it's either a ploy or it's a self-restraint, or what is the object of that announcement?
Well, returning to the topic of Threeways. So I feel like we may have only sort of scratched the topic and sort of talked about our impressions and sort of our experiences rather than getting into actual advice here.
Well, I don't know that anyone here has actually tried to date a couple. Has that happened besides you?
Nope, not me.
I haven't.
Looks like we have no advice to give. You're on your own, folks. Have a great week.
I mean, I have my cautionary tale. I think that's valuable.
Yeah. I wasn't trying to give advice.
I think we have to circle back to our standard advice here. Listen better than Don does. Talk through your questions. And remember that when you are the one dating the couple, you are the only one there to advocate for yourself in this relationship. So do that.
I mean, I think it's, and just in all these cases, communication is key.
Yeah.
But this is going to be one of those topics where you're like, dear listener, we're going to be asking you, if do you have experiences with this? Do you have advice that you would offer? Write in, because the four of us are clods.
Yeah. Help us out.
Trevor, do we have a tip this
week? We do.
Dan has a tip.
Dan has a tip. My goodness.
So one of my students went to Mexico, and well, because I'm me, that student knows all about me and my proclivities, and so found herself sourcing for me a wonderful Mexican artist by the name of Claudio Castillero. His work centers around what he calls robust figures who are often male or non-binary. What it really turns into is he's really into bears and thick boys and chubs in his art. And he had a recent show in Mexico City called, and I love this, Gozos y Gordo Bueno, Sabrosuras Recargados, which very roughly translated, because it's very it's culturally based, but I would call it thick boy joy, maximum deliciousness. You can see a number of different influences in his work. He draws heavily from Japanese bara, which is like a gay manga. And he really just loves, he works in all sorts of mediums. So go check him out. I think you can find him on Instagram as @Claudio Castillero, which is CLAUDIO CASTILLERO.
There's a ton of, I'm just looking through his Instagram now. There's
It's amazing,
a ton of pictures. Yeah. Lots of super colorful illustrations and him at events and sort of showing off his art and everything. It's a good look. It's a very fun look.
Some of this work's a little graphic, so
it's
some
very
of our listeners
graphic.
might find a little extra joy in there.
There's a show on I think some website of his, or that he's attached to, and the name of this little show he did is called "Have a Little Lick of My Big Dick."
Oh my!
So, it's really great.
Well, cool. Go check him out. Support. Well, I don't know what supporting local artists means in this context of this podcast, but that's essentially what that is.
He did have an Amazon store. I clicked on it and it is no more, but I bet if you like the art, I bet he'd sell it to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, since we're talking about menages and thruples and all that sort of thing, I thought it seems like we have a lot of understanding in our society about couples and the number 2, but three becomes strange, foreign, exotic, and scary. So today 3 is our magic number for our bit. Okay, so I'm going to tell you, this bit took some interesting turns. I had so much fun researching this. So 3 is one of those numbers that has lots of spiritual meanings, both good and bad. Like we have the divine trinity in Christianity, lots of sort of good and bad luck symbols in Chinese beliefs. And so I don't think anyone would be very surprised to find out there are a lot of superstitions around the number 3. The first one we're going to delve into today deals with superstitions in foxholes, which is the following belief that existed among soldiers. Warning, all of these are variations of real battlefield superstitions that you may have heard before. So I'm playing a little dirty this time around. All of these are variants on superstitions. I've introduced the number 3 to all of the fake ones. All right. Which of these is the following true soldier superstition? 1, never whistle 3 times. 2, never light 3 cigarettes off the same match. 3, 3 people can't wear red socks on the same mission. Or 4, while some tattoos may bring good luck, like anchors and swallows, any tattoo containing the number 3 must be covered up on a mission.
I believe the true one is 3 on a match.
3 on the match?
Okay, 3 on a match.
One
That
for
feels-
smoking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, I like that one too.
All right.
I will also go with 3 on a match.
Always go with Dan. And the correct answer is, in fact, 3 on the match. This comes from
Aha.
a World War II superstition that believed when you lit the first cigarette, the sniper would notice you. When you lit the second cigarette, the sniper would be taking aim. When you lit the third one, they would have lined up the shot and they'd be ready to fire.
Oh, that's sort of brilliant.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. You know how I know it, Don?
How do you know it?
Bugs Bunny. It's in a Bugs Bunny cartoon.
Bugs Bunny is one of the biggest
Okay.
bridges to the 1930s and 40s generation that we will ever have.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, let's not be blinded by 3's magic and glamour. It is above and beyond all else. Let us not forget a numeral. While we know the number 3 as the lovely symbol formed by 2 shapely curves meeting together, some of us may have noticed that every once in a while, a strange mutant 3 may make it into the mix, a flat-topped 3. You may be surprised that the flat-top 3 didn't exist until 1945, when it was invented and came into popular use as what? 1, a way to distinguish Americans from Nazis and immigrants. 2, to defeminize the somewhat suggestively shaped number 3.
Oh, that's hilarious.
3, as an ingenious new security precaution. Or 4, a misprint that people liked the look of. They thought it looked like money.
I was going to say, I don't think this is one of your choices. I was going to say to distinguish it from a sloppy 8.
Ooh.
I want to go with to make it less shapely.
Yeah, that's
the 3's too.
on the one hand, I feel like, well, nobody's that petty.
yes,
but then
they
on the
are.
other hand,
Yes. Can't have any faggoty 3s.
Oh God.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
Okay, we've got 2 to defeminize, and Dan, what are you going with?
Sure. Yeah, sure.
Everyone's in for defeminizing that suggestive, slutty 3.
That's yes,
Right.
exactly.
But in fact, the correct answer is an ingenious new security precaution. Dealing with what Dan talked about. It's a way to...
Oh, well, then why didn't you give me yes? But that wasn't a choice.
Because you didn't guess it, did you? It's in order to try and fight a basically fraud of people drawing over the 3s to make them 8s, which was...
That's what I said.
Yes,
I want credit. I get credit. That's what I said.
All right, now sit back. This is the one that got me going. I love this question. All right, there's a lot here. Have any of you ever noticed that everything in math seems so 10 oriented? Like 10 is so important.
We like to call it the decimal system.
Yeah, this whole decimal system. We're like so like decimal's the best thing ever. So this stuff is fascinating. We take for granted that all the math we deal with today is based on the number 10. And if you want to think back to the origins of that, it's not very surprising to realize it probably comes from the fact that most people come with 10 fingers to point with, right? It's just the most instinctive basic form of understanding conceptual math. But the 10 base system was one of only several different ones that arose in the ancient world. The ancient Babylonians had a base 60 counting system, and we still use it today in measuring the degrees of a circle, measuring the seconds, minutes in an hour. But here's the question. Why the hell would any group of people start thinking that a base 60 counting system made any sense at all? Currently, the leading theory is what? 1. Some of their ancestors pointed at things a little differently than the rest of us. 2. They used more body parts than fingers and toes when counting. 3. They literally just never associated counting with body parts at all. Or 4, the Babylonians were just straight up better at math than us.
I think it's kind of 3. It's 3 in that they didn't associate with body parts. They associated it with navigation and the heavens.
Okay.
And you need 60 ways to chop
60 ways to chop things up. Got it.
I'm going to go with Dan, just math and
yeah. And 60 is, and I mean, the argument for 60, like as any Babylonian will tell you, it has so many more factors than 10. 10 has 2 factors, whereas 60 has just, I think, like 6 or 8 or something.
So Michael, what are you thinking?
Oh, gee, I wonder which one I should choose.
I could be wrong. I mean, they might have, had.
Yeah, we'll all go 60, down together.
60 toes.
I'll go with that.
If there's anything all of you should know by now after playing this bit for all these years, never go with Dan. Don't go with Dan. That's a terrible idea. Here's the leading theory right now.
What's the leading theory?
Most people think that their ancestors pointed at things a little differently than the rest of us. They would point with the thumb, and then counting would be 1 is the first knuckle of your pointer finger, 2 is the second knuckle of your pointer finger, 3 is the third knuckle of your pointer finger. So your base counting system becomes 12. Now, you get a tribe of people who get used to counting that way. They then start a major trading group with a civilization that counts using 5 fingers. Anyway, those 2 groups, they eventually merge. Their mathematics merge and become a system that's based on 5 and 12, 60, so that both sides of the civilization can understand it.
Is there any evidence of this whatsoever? It's just a fun story.
No, that is currently the leading theory on how that.
I understand that. Is there any evidence for it?
Yes, and if you want to sign up for my 6-month archaeology program at the local community college, I'll explain it to you. But have any of you, dear listeners, learned to count in strange ways? Trevor, where can they tell us about it?
Well, we're on Instagram and Blue Sky as @BigFatGayPod. We're on Facebook as the Big Fat Gay Podcast. Leave us 5 stars there. Leave us 5 stars or review on your preferred podcast platform. Support us on patreon.com/BigFatGayPod. See the articles we talked about at BigFatGayPod.com, baby. Maybe you're still trying to figure out what Don said about the thumb and the knuckles, and it's really not adding up for you. But math,
watch it.